Welcome to Wisdom Rising. Today we have a beautiful guest interview with Lenora Spencer. She is a Reiki master as well as one of our Soul Rising graduates. And I'm so honored to have her on the podcast today because her story is incredible. I really enjoy listening to her life story as well as all of the changes that she made as she brought in the wisdom from Soul Rising, our shamanic Reiki training program. So, welcome to the show, Lenora. I'm so glad that you've made it and are with us today.
Thank you, Christine. I'm really excited to be here. I've been looking forward to it all day. And as we record this today, it's 8/8. So it's like a magical day and perfect alignment to do this. So I'm super excited.
Yes, we are recording on Lionsgate. We're actually recording on the launch of Moon Rising Shamanic Institute. And I think that's all so juicy, even though that this recording isn't going to be uh, put out into the world until for a few more weeks. Like, I really feel like cosmically, it was totally in alignment for us to join together today to share your story. And I would just love to know, what was your healing journey like? What brought you into the Soul Rising program?
So, what brought me into the Soul Rising program was trying to get a better understanding of how to heal on a deeper level. So, it kind of starts with the Reiki journey. I had gotten into Reiki like last year. And so I kind of like stumbled into Lighthouse Reiki, kind of like searching for other practitioners. And I happened to find your workshops on there. And that was kind of like synchronistic the way that I found your workshops in Lighthouse. I just kind of felt like the universe led me there. But I just wanted to connect with other Reiki practitioners and kind of just fit in somewhere.
Yeah,
um,
totally.
and Misty was telling me about her mentor hosting workshops and like what all it entailed. And I'm just like, okay, tell me more. And then as I kind of like poked around at the website that you had all the Soul Rising stuff on, I realized I've seen this lady before. I was watching your YouTube since last summer. And just the fact that you happen to show up in Houston, Texas, all the way from like Montana, I'm just like, clearly the universe is trying to tell me something. If I don't take advantage of the opportunity to hear what this lady has to offer, then I clearly missed the message.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
And, shout out to Misty over at Lighthouse Reiki in Houston. She's got a great crystal shop, and I was really honored. She's also a graduate of Moon Rising Institute through our advanced program. She's taken so much from us, and I absolutely love collaborating with her and in her space. I can't wait to come back to Houston. So if you're in the Houston area or it's an easy place to fly to, I definitely plan on being there back in January. It's definitely a hub. Like, I really feel like a lot of our graduates also, that are stepping into the grandest version of themselves, and then they're holding up and holding space for others to find their path, their truth, their light, and being able to land in Houston and then offer the workshops and then meet all of so many of our students from the last cohort. It was amazing. Like, I was on fire those, what, I think I was there 3 or 4 days.
So it was, I think, over 4 days, but I know we got cut short because of the freeze.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So here I am flying in from Bozeman, Montana, and I'm thinking I'm going somewhere warm because it's January, and back home in Montana, it's like 20 degrees, 10 degrees out. And so I'm like, great, I can finally wear, not have to have a jacket. So I didn't really bring much because I was on kind of a short tour from Arizona to Houston to Costa Rica. And I didn't even have the appropriate clothing. So yeah, I do remember having to cancel one of the workshops because people weren't driving and getting around, but they were really magical experiences. And I'm so glad that you were able to attend. Was there something about the workshop? Was there uh, one particular workshop or topic that like sparked your interest or lit you up? Like, what was that like?
I think the biggest attention grabber for me was addressing limiting beliefs.
Yes.
So I know you had a couple with like well, associated with root chakra because that's how the program is centered around the chakras. But I think the financial beliefs, which of course are linked to the root chakra, and then I believe I want to say sacral because I feel like I was just like, I'm like really lacking and like my usual creative mojo and maybe I could use that boost. But also it was like working with the eighth energy field and the chakra spinning. So I was just all like, I want all of it.
Yes.
I signed up for pretty much all of them except one, only because I'd already moved my work schedule around so much. And I was just like, I just couldn't fit in solar plexus, but I was just like, I'm here for all of it, whatever I could possibly make.
Yeah. And it was very much like a taste of what Soul Rising offers. I'm curious about what got you interested in Reiki? What got you interested in spiritual healing? What was your life like before you hit Lighthouse Reiki, before you hit coming into Soul Rising?
So I really can't pinpoint like exactly when I got into like spirituality and all this other stuff. I've always been interested in hidden things. I've had interests in like dream interpretation, out of body. So like altered states, psychedelics, all this stuff since I was like a teenager. And
Yes.
so, I nerd out on these things. And if anybody wants to talk about them, I can talk for hours about any of them. So pinpointing it exactly, not, started very young. However, coming into later years, I had left a really toxic job in about 2020. That was not easy for any of us. I was coming from the salon beauty industry. Salons took a huge hit. Nobody
Yes.
wanted to come in for appointments. Everybody was like super scared. So I was kind of like, my career plans kind of got derailed. And it wasn't really a pleasant place to be. I was finding myself putting up all these shields with all these energies coming at me to where I was just like, maybe this just isn't for me. So I ended up leaving like in the fall of 2020. I took like 2 months off and then I ended up in a wellness center. So the one wellness center that I'm at specializes in all these really awesome but out there healing modalities. So we do like flotation therapy, massage, and acupuncture. And I believe later that year, I like got a distance Reiki session from somebody like in Sedona. And so I was just like, well, that helped me gain a little bit of like insight to kind of get my stuff together after like that turbulent year. But like the following year in 2021, I actually was like seeing a practitioner here in Houston. I saw him probably like 3 times. And then he's actually the same person that I learned Reiki 1 and 2 with. Um, and the classes weren't all that structured. It was very quick and it left me like kind of just, is that it? And I need more information. So that's why I went onto YouTube and where I'm just kind of like, okay, well, what now? So I'm kind of like, I got the attunements, I've got whatever little workbook he gave me. And so I was just like, okay, well, I guess it's all fill in the blanks from here. So we actually network with Lighthouse Reiki and Crystals. So I just stumbled in there one day because it kept coming up every day. And then
Yeah.
I struck up a conversation with Misty and she invited me to come and participate in the Reiki circles. And yeah, I think I've only missed one since she started them, but like I'm in there a lot to shop, to get their readings and whatever workshops they're offering. And she actually like recently hosted a me with my meditative light that I do their sessions. So that was cool. And then after I found you, I took your workshops. I was able to get into the Soul Rising program, and then I ended up taking your Reiki Master course. So, and then
Yeah.
that to today. Yeah,
Yeah. That's awesome. And I love that. Like the workshops was that inspirational point of going, okay, I know I want to know more. It sounds like there's always been like this journey of, okay, I'm scratching the surface. What's next? I'm scratching the surface next. What
yeah,
next? Right. So
yeah,
there's the, okay, I've taken my level 1 and 2 from this practitioner. And now I'm like, I got to fill in all the blanks.
yeah,
And you were seeking it out. Like, and it was showing up for you. Like, I think there's a big piece of like ask and you shall receive from the universe of like, if you are a seeker, you're gonna find those rabbit holes. And once you start going down them, you can get a plethora of information, especially if you
Yeah.
find a practitioner or teacher or a mentor that can really hold that space for you and really collaborate in a way. And I know Misty does that. We definitely do it over here at Moon
Yeah.
Rising. And I think that that's what I really saw in you, and you're ready to do the deeper healing work. So being part of the Soul Rising program, was there a point where did it feel like you were doing like deeper healing work or really starting to put the puzzle pieces together? Like, what did that look like for you?
I think the realization that I'm going to have to drop everything and just be vulnerable. There's no getting around that. There's no getting around that in that program. It's like if you're putting up all these shields, it kind of like defeats the purpose. And
Yeah.
if it's me, I'm a suppressor. I suppress so much that I've given myself an autoimmune disorder. So I'm just like, you know what? I need to like go the opposite direction of what I've been doing to try and get it out.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
can you expand on that a little more? Like, what did that look like for you being in our container of Soul Rising?
So this was like my first online class experience that I've ever done. Everything has always been in person or figure it out for yourself. I'm a big DIY mindset kind of person. So jumping into where like somebody's actually going to be instructing you, there's like a whole structure to the course was very enticing for me because I'm like, yes, just tell me what to do. I'll do it. So just knowing that I'm going to be sharing space with not only instructors, but several other people, you know, maybe like a handful that I actually knew from the Houston workshops or, you know, through networking through the center that I'm at. So I'm just like, okay, well, those people kind of know me, but the other people don't. And I'm just going to have to like drop everything and just kind of go with the flow. It's like, I know you know this, but I pretty much did not have my camera on the entire time that we did Soul Rising, except maybe for like the last integration call or like the, you know, the send off call. And like, I think me being able to share that much, it's like, okay, well, I can share like the voice and like the sharing and like the stories and all this other stuff. But like being like fully like, okay, I'm going to be on camera now. And then like, so I think that says a lot compared to like where I started to compare it like me being a guest on the podcast.
Right? Totally. You're on camera now with me.
Yeah.
Like there's a huge transformation I witnessed, like you doing the work, you're moving through it, you're getting the support and you getting more and more comfortable
Yeah.
knowing that you were in a safe space and that no one was going
Yeah.
to judge you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And so me being vulnerable in the cohort, but also holding space for everybody else there for their vulnerability and for their stories.
Yeah. And we get a lot of that. Like it's not just a one person being vulnerable. It's like
Yeah.
everyone takes their turn. Here's one student who's crying this week, and there's another who's processing their childhood wounds. And, I just, that's what makes this so unique and special is that we all show up. It's not just the mentors in the program. Every student is witnessing and holding space for it in a really gentle way, in a way that allows whatever needs to process, where it's also not therapy, right? So that was, yeah, it's just an amazing container. I'm curious of how the Soul Rising program met your expectations, or how did it differ?
Well, I was really like skeptical, like with the promise of like, you're going to go through like this deep transformation and like deeper healing and all this other stuff. And I was like, in 4 months, really? And I'm just like, But so actually like doing the work, I'm just like, okay, well, diving into all the like the module work and like the workbooks and the questions and stuff, I'm just like, okay, well, we're poking around now. Let's just answer the questions. And so like I was really surprised with how detailed everything was. So I appreciate that. I really do, considering that I can be scattered at times and I need just like ask me the questions, I'll give the answers. So it met my expectations with how much information you were willing to give us. And it was a lot because some of the stuff I had to go back to make sure that it really like sunk in before I attended the call. So I'm just like, I don't want to be like on the call and just like completely lost. So I'll watch it again. So it really did meet my expectations with that. And I was really surprised that I was like thinking, oh, the heart chakra one was going to be probably the most challenging, but it was actually the sacral chakra that had me breaking down and kind of just like spilling all this emotion out and stuff. So it was shocking, but I think just the way that how detailed everything was really met my expectations, if not even surpassed my expectations. I wanted to have expectations, but I just learned by the end of it, just don't. It's best to just go in completely open and blank and just like, okay, I'm here. What are we going to learn today? What are we going to talk about today? Yeah.
I love that. It's like that energy of curiosity and openness and willing to meet the instruction or the mentorship where you're at versus like, I think a lot of students tend to get tripped up when they have really certain expectations. Like I mean, overall, I don't think Soul Rising is an easy program for anyone. Not if you're doing the work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how was it that for you? What part of it felt easy? What part of it felt difficult? It sounds like a lot came up for you in the sacral chakra. So just for our listeners so they know, the Soul Rising programs goes through the first 4 chakras. And that is how we structure our programs so that we're really working through these areas of our life that so often, especially for spiritual seekers and spiritual practitioners, they often are overlooked because the focus is so much on third eye and crown. We take a lot of time going like, we need to do our self-healing work. And all that shadow work is really held and contained in the first 4. So, do you have any stories to share us that really kind of illuminated that for you?
Let me think. So I want to say maybe for like sacral chakra, which was the most challenging one. I think like maybe by the time we were like diving into like deeper childhood stuff, suppressed feelings and stuff, like in around that same time, I think I ended up going like on a retreat with a lighthouse, and uh, all that sacral stuff was like coming up like while I was on this like forest retreat. So I'm like walking through the forest with a group of Reiki practitioners, and all this stuff is just coming to me. I'm seeing all these bugs. There's like a bug that came and like landed on like my sacral area while we were sitting and talking, and it was all black and it had like this orange little dot, and I'm just like, oh my god, things are showing up when I'm not even trying to do work right now. So how that happened was like completely amazing, awesome, and like, what is going on right now? During that week, and like I think we spent a few weeks on it, I was just having like severe, like just mental and emotional just purging. And that's when I felt like, okay, there's really something going on here if all this stuff is coming up.
Yeah.
So that's where I actually felt like I hit like this breakthrough point to where it's just like, okay, you wanted healing. Here's how your healing is coming out. Here's how it's manifesting.
Yeah. And I love that. And that so many of our students, they think that they're behind or they're not doing the work. And then I go, look at your everyday real life. How
Yeah.
is the stuff that you're learning actually showing up for you? And it's that experience. Well, this bug showed up, or this animal showed up, or that feather showed up, right? Or you're having these health crises or emotional stuff that's bubbling to the surface so that you can heal it and transmute it and shift it. And not only you, but we see that with almost every single one of our students of like, it shows up in your physical everyday life, even if you didn't, do all of the journal prompts or whatever, it's activated. The intention of the program itself is going to be activated in your everyday life. I love that.
And just like, especially after journey nights, all the dreams and everything that just amplified, and like spirit just really showed up and was like, you called, we're here, and let me give you all the information you may have been too busy to process and interpret during class, or the animals showing up after journey nights and stuff. And like, I really had just moments where I like, nobody's around, nobody's ever going to believe me, but I'm going to go with it. So, yeah.
I love that. I love that. Like so much we don't need to get validated by the outside community. Having that validation within the community
Yeah.
of soul rising is enough, right? How was it for you to learn how to shamanic journey? Was that an easy experience? Was that like something that took a while? Like everyone is so different.
So it did take a while for me. I am familiar with the concept of journeying, considering like what my interests are, and then also with the meditative light that I work with. It is journeying, however, it's induced by light. So I've held space for many people doing the journey. I've done a lot of journeys that way, but doing the shamanic journeying with the method that y'all teach was completely new to me. So when you did the workshops, that was like the first time that I've ever tried to do like a journey with that kind of structure. So it did take a while for me to actually get the hang of it. I've always never been quite strong with like visual clairvoyance, and it comes to me in way different forms than some people that get much clearer pictures. So I did have expectations for the journeys of like how I would experience it, but like I said, throw all those expectations out the window. So I did have to lean into my other senses when it came to doing the journeys, being like, well, I'm not getting much visually, so let's go with bodily sensation. Let's go with my clairaudience, just leaning into other things and me being able to trust that and then work with it as we progressed. But it did become easier probably by the second module. You also had those guided journeys in the coursework. So I remember doing one of your guided solar plexus meditations, and I was like on my futon swing outside. It was like a little patio swing, and I'm facing the sun set and like kind of just like harnessing that solar energy while I was listening to the meditation. And so you're guiding this journey, and we're going to the lower world to meet the embodiment of solar plexus. And a fire dragon showed up for me, and like very visually, like there is no mistaking what I was seeing. And that's when I had like that aha moment that, holy crap, this is real.
Yes.
And seeing it visually for the first time. So for me, the visuals were like very plant medicine like. So like doing any kind of like ceremonial medicine, I was just like, whoa, that is amazing. So that was just like for me, like, okay, I can journey, but I think for me, it just the environment and the conditions have to be just right.
Yeah. And I think that, our mentors really try to give our students permission to like, let's figure out what works for you. There's not like a one right way to do it. How
Yeah.
did that land for you? What was your quote unquote right conditions?
So my right condition would be totally away from home,
Huh?
not any instruction and any kind of interactions with my kids or whatever. But since I do have a whole wellness center at my disposal, um, I can go into one of the treatment rooms. I can do it in a float tank, which happens to be like my preferred method. Just take away all kind of distraction, and it's just me inside my head and with spirit. And that's probably like the best way that it shows up for me.
Yeah, if we all just had float tanks, right?
Yeah, just like if I could totally have one in my house, I would. But yeah,
Yeah, it's totally on my to-do list next time I come to Houston because I've never actually
definitely.
tried. Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be great. I'm curious about how was your experience with the mentors in the program and the pillars of support that we offered?
So I was really surprised to get as much support as we actually did. So, of course, like I mentioned with my whole doing Reiki 1 and 2, I didn't really get much support. So I was just all like, please, 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 let me get more out of that taking this program. And so, aside from meeting you, I know that you had other people that were on your team. However, never met them until like the actual like welcome call. So I think I ended up in Izzy's sacred circle, but I was really appreciative of the weekly check-ins. And if we happen to have a challenging call, whether it be journey or integration week, y'all were in our inboxes checking on us. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so I really appreciate that. And if I had any kind of questions, or if I needed clarity on something, that y'all were there, and all we had to do was take the initiative to reach out and say like, hey, I need help with something. And then, the response was pretty quick. So I really, really appreciate how everything was handled support wise.
Yeah. I love that feedback too, because it also, just like you, I had a bad Reiki teacher who was like, gave me subpar information that didn't show up for any kind of support, had no, like for me, I had no idea how to get a hold of them after the class was complete.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of left on my own. And I feel like I needed to have that experience back in 2004 so
Yeah.
that I would be a different kind of teacher. And so the my continued effort to be responsive, show up. And that's why, we have a team, because I can't be everywhere all the time in all the different time zones. And so having the team really allows us to meet everyone's needs, and having the call times be to meet everyone's needs. Like all of that's super important to me. And I'm so glad it landed well for you as you move through the program.
Yeah. And then y'all all have different perspectives. Y'all all teach differently. So I tried to jump on with as many calls as I possibly could. Sometimes more than 2 calls a week. So like if you had a bonus material, you put it in the chat, like, hey, I'm gonna throw in a bonus thing tonight. And I'm just like, okay, well, we don't get much FaceTime with Christine sometimes. So I would jump on it. So I would make it work. So I just moved my schedule around a lot to make it work. So
Yeah, I love that. And sometimes it's worth it, right? Like I feel like the more you put into the program, the more you get out of it.
yeah.
So, the people who really made a concentrated effort to attend things, to utilize the assessments and the check-ins, really were the ones who became the star students, yourself included, right? Like it's so clear that the amount of energy and effort you put into your own self-healing work, and that's really what it is. We're just giving you the container, we're giving you the opportunity, and you said yes to that. You grabbed a hold of it and moved forward. I'm curious of what your overall takeaway was from the program.
And my overall takeaway was that I ended up digging out a lot of stuff that I've suppressed for so long that's kept me from like really being authentic, and then being like, I guess, confident enough to put myself out there, whether
Yeah.
that be on a personal level or professionally. So that was like my big takeaway for like the program, going like, wow, I really had to do something this extreme to be able to feel comfortable with like being myself and being like, this is who I am on this day in 2024.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And I think that is so profound, because so often we are told by society that we're too much, or that we can't express who we are, or we're so conditioned by the institutionalized systems in our society to make ourselves small, and to not, don't speak unless spoken to, or whatever was ingrained from our family systems.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that that was your takeaway. Like you can be you, and you're beautiful just the way you are. Because if everyone knew that, if everyone we came in
Yeah.
contact with knew that they're inherently worthy and valuable, being in their own energy and expressing themselves, wow, what a different world we would live in. And,
Yeah.
coming from a place of like walking through life not knowing how much people have done their work, and how much we need to like reserve our energy and hold it back to like putting out in the world. Like
Yeah.
I love the container that we create, because everyone can show up in their full weirdness, their full, you know, expressive selves, and it's great. I love it. And I think that is why so often we see our group chats blowing up even years later, because everyone gets so intimately connected, because they've had those vulnerable times and spaces with one another that they've seen, have been felt and seen and heard. that they continue those conversations. And so I'm really glad that that's one of the top takeaways.
Just going off of being so comfortable with like our cohort and stuff, like whenever we get the chance, we our Houston group meets up, so we've done it a few times. And of course, Lighthouse is sometimes our hub, so if they happen to have some event, then we're in the little chat like, are you going? Yeah, I'm going, and let's try and meet and kind of hang out and touch base and kind of like discuss like the next steps in the Soul Rising program too. So
Yeah. Yeah. Which leads me to my next question. Why did you choose to continue into the Soul Rising Practitioner program?
well, of course, to continue the healing for the upper chakras. And I'm really curious to see how that goes. I'm hoping it's a little bit easier than all the other stuff that we just previously went through. So to continue the healing going up, and then also to be able to facilitate that same healing from whatever we learn for other people. So I've been practicing Reiki for a little over a year now, but uh, for with like the whole shamanic perspective, I was like, I would love to teach other people about this and how they can apply it with their healing. So that is probably the biggest interests for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So our Soul Rising Practitioner program really is going to get into that. How do you chakra spin for others? How do you shamanic journey for others? How do you do soul retrievals for others? How do you find those energetic cords and release them for others? And so it really has that deeper connection of like, okay, now we're moving beyond the heart. We're utilizing these skills with the world while we're moving through throat, third eye, and crown. So I'm really looking forward to it. We're gonna
Me too. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. I want to ask one more question. If you were meeting someone, how would you describe the program and how would you recommend it to them?
So I would describe the program as a really deep dive into yourself, to what you've previously believed, and kind of just be ready to like tear it down and build it back up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Is there anything else you feel is important that to share with our listeners?
I would say that everybody's journey is individual to themselves and nobody's journeys look the same. And so just trust your story, how it's shown up for you, and you're free to imagine the rest of it however you'd like because you co-create that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Beautiful. I love that, Lenora. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today, your wise words and your experience, because I have a feeling it's going to touch so many lives out there. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Until next time, may you awaken to the whispers of wisdom rising from within.